presenter box. Yes, and while we're waiting for Wanda, she does have a copy of her presentation for you all, so Penny's going to make sure you have that so you can follow along. Let's welcome our next presenter, Wanda main screen. She's going to talk to us a little bit today about branding your church. I know some of you have just gone through the process of maybe choosing new logos and trying to rebrand your church. And so Wanda's going to share with us and her team some of the ways, some of the tools that you can use to help with that branding. Promote with purpose.
Hello.
All right, Wanda, so I know I didn't tell you this ahead of time, but you've been here before, so you know the drill. You know the drill. Let's see what her random question is.
What's my name?
What piece of entertainment do you wish you could erase from your mind so that you could experience for the first time again? So what piece of entertainment do you wish you could erase from your mind just so you can experience it all over again the first time that you were exposed to it?
I guess when I went on vacation, I went to the grill, like we did the water thing and went to the waterfall. That was experience.
Yeah. All right, the grill, the waterfall, entertainment. You want to do that all over again?
Yeah,
I don't blame you.
And maybe not fall this time.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Wanda, and this is your clicker. Have your way.
Good. So greetings, everyone. How's everyone doing? Good, good, good. Now y'all been here all day, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, y'all look a little tired. I see a little things in the eyes. So I'm a person. I like to keep moving. I have nervous energy. So when I sit in these conferences, after a while I get a little. I'm known to fall asleep sometimes. I have to wake myself up or get up or move around, so I keep myself going. So I got something for y'all, just in case y'all that kind of person like me, because I want to keep y'all going. And I got some great things to share with you, and I think you will be excited when I'm going to share with you today. So I got a little goodies for you first. I'll just try to pack these out real quick. This is something to kind of keep you occupied while I'm talking, and through the whole conference. Through the whole conference, you can use them. And any other time. And it's also stress relief. So you need to relieve that stress, or you think about something, or trying to figure out something to do for your church and just can't think, you just need something to keep you, help make your mind go clear. Use this. It's a yo-yo, but it's a rubber yo-yo. So you just bounce it, and do those good. So they're passing them out. So again, it's on my throat, my thing. So Tasha asked me to do promote with purpose. So we really talk about how to promote with purpose. Is it this one, the first one? Which one? Which one am I pushing on? Did I close it all the way?
Turned it off.
I need instructions.
Turn the whole thing off.
Okay, so I think it's the key on the side. Okay, gotcha. So we're going to talk about brand. Promote your brand with purpose. That was the topic was given to me, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. And before we do that, first we want to do like the most simplest thing is like, what is branding? A lot of people figure, I know what branding is, simple. And it is, and it isn't. Okay, and branding is not just a logo. Okay, branding consists of the symbol and the identity of your church, T-shirts, all the good things. It's all part of one thing. But branding is not just wearing a T-shirt with your logo on it or your logo of your church. And many churches don't have logos. And we can talk about that later as to why and how maybe create something to identify yourself. So it's important to really understand the branding, understand the image of it, and really get a true understanding of that. A lot of time our churches, we start planning everything, and we don't put that brand in there. That brand is who are you? It's you. It's not what the church did down the street. It's not what the company down the street. It's what you are, who you are, to identify yourself. Nike is a perfect example. You know who Nike is. They know who they are, and they want you to know it. They want you to feel that. So that's what branding is about, really making yourself feel who you are. So people, when they see you, they feel your vibes. They know who you are. They know all about you. When they see you instantly, it's something that identifies you when they see you, when they talk about you. And church members, and it has to be, everyone has to understand that, not just you to communicate to people. How many people here, this is their first time in the communication as far as in their church? Okay, not that many, good. So that's good. My first time, when I first asked me to do this, I was like, you want me to do what? It can be overwhelming, but make it fun. Just make it fun. That's the best way to do it. I'm sorry. Okay, so, but the whole thing now, we talk about branding, but why is branding important for a church? Most church people figure that, I don't need a brand. It's Jesus. Everybody knows about Jesus. Why do I brand about Jesus? I mean, he is what he is. A couple years ago, that was great. Because remember, when you were growing up, some of you, this side of the room, but some of you, it was one church for each denomination in your neighborhood. Your neighborhood was going to be 4 to 5 radius. You didn't need a lot of branding, because you was a Baptist, you was a Catholic, you was a Baptist, that's what you were, and that's where everybody went. You don't have to worry about that, because everybody stayed in the neighborhood. But now people are the community churches, and now you go on a block, it could be 5 churches on a radius of a block. In Germantown, there's a block you go down, I tell you no lie, there's a church here, a church right across the street. I'm like, how do they do it? I mean, they're big churches. So you have to understand, you can't no longer be in that domain. You have to really understand branding is very important for our churches to know who we are. We want to get this, our purpose is not to sell money, right? Our purpose is to get them seats warm, right? NBC's, if we're not doing what God asks us to do. So that's why branding is important for church growth, for connection. So people know who you are, connect with your community. They connect you through how they identify who you are. You know, maybe they don't know who you are. You haven't made yourself identify. So it's important. Engagement is a way of engaging with your community. Excuse me if I say clients sometimes, because I think to me they're clients. Okay, even when I do with our churches, you're still a client. And also, it's something of a poor understanding of the brand. I'll give you some examples to go later on how you can really brand something that could be wrong. You can brand wrong too. And it can really hurt them. And also it hinders the work of the church. How's if you're not branding, if you're not doing the work you're really doing, if you're not branding correctly, all those programs that you plan, all that you decide to do, it doesn't become really successful. Because you didn't do it right, you didn't do it correctly, so you got the good results that you want to get. And it's all about results. A lot of times people go, I have a great program, everybody's gonna come. Yeah, maybe they will, maybe they won't. But you won't know to the end of the day. And because you have a lot of people in that room, did you really, really touch those people? Because they came in the room. How did you connect with those people? And that's what branding is about, being able to connect and make that connection. Next thing, so we're going to talk about 5 steps to build a brand. So it's not, again, like I said, not just come up with an idea, it's not, this is our slogan, yeah, this is what we're going to do. It's not really you. So the whole thing, the purpose of branding, one thing, be part of the puzzle, not the whole puzzle. God didn't tell you to save the whole world. Because that's why he puts so many people, because he wants you to do a piece of it. So what's that part? What's that part of the puzzle that you are? Who are you in that piece of the puzzle? Your talents, your skills. You may be a church that has a lot of young people and you're doing a lot of young things in that's focused on young people. You may be in a community where the older people, so you do something different. But what is it that's part of you that you can solve that one problem that you need, because you're good at doing, and find that, and that's what you hone in on. And that's how you develop your brand, using that. Also, be specific about your brand. Otherwise, don't let somebody tell you, say your market company, they tell you, I had a lot of clients, they say to me, what's my brand? What do I do? I know what your brand I can do, once we figure out what it is, I can help you bring it to life. We show you how to make it now surface down. You're being unique, you're being different, you're coming out of that little cluster of people. You're saying you're on this side of everybody. That's what it's being specific about. And be sustainable. So what you gotta be sustainable. Your brand has to be so that the substance, it connects to people, it goes around. So you want that brand to be sustainable. And most of all, be consistent. A lot of times I find people, one week they doing this, next week they doing that. You know how a little dog goes around the circle, just keeps going around? Evidently he gets busy and falls out, right? So if you're not being constant, taking that, being consistent with your brand, that's what happens. It falls out. It now no longer, it fizzes out. You haven't accomplished anything. You don't know where you're going. So you gotta be consistent. Whatever you decide to do, stick with it. So that means that when you do that, you still are intimate. You know, we're in the church, a lot of times we get new pastors every so many years, right? Pastor come in and do all this planning. Sometimes it's not a good idea. You gotta go find out what your church needs, find out what they're doing, and then communicate, and then slowly bring that in, so that everybody get adjusted. You know, you just can't wake up and just do things. A lot of times you do that, it may not be the right thing. It may have been a step on that. You're like, maybe I shouldn't have done that, because it really wasn't me. It wasn't who I really wanted to be. So you have to definitely take it easy. Don't always jump for changes. Changes are good, and you do have to change sometimes. What you were doing years ago, this probably is not working right now. Your community could have changed. You know, we left church last time, my whole community is totally the whole change now, right? So we gotta change with those times. It's just make sure you change with what you can do and how you can get. We talked about that being that one piece of the puzzle, being that one piece of the puzzle. So we talked about branding. We have, some of the things to do, but all things, as I told you, branding. 5 mistakes I'm going to talk about that you don't want to do when you're doing branding. And I told you a lot of things you can do mistakes, and that can happen. So first one is, don't assume that your brand don't assume that your logo extends your brand. Otherwise, most people say, I got a logo, that's who you are, and you do nothing else. You just keep on doing everything you're doing, you're not doing that. So you get it. Remember I told you, the logo is not everything about your brand. It's more than just a logo, there's a whole lot of things about it. It starts, and look at the little chart here. It talks about basically your logo. It starts with a strategy. When you're doing your brand, I find a lot of churches, they're planning things, they're doing stuff, and then they start doing it. And then you put out a strategy. What's your strategy? Church and brand church is a business. It's just a Christian business, but it's still a business. God had a plan. He didn't jump in and do nothing. He had a plan. He had a marketing plan. He's the first marketer. He created a plan. He has a plan. Everybody was a plan. He's telling you how to live your life. He tells you what to do, right? He has a strategy. He wanted results. He wanted to do. So you guys do the same concept. And my strategy is value. Let's have some value we're doing. Don't just do it because the church on the street did it. It was great. That may be great for them, but that's not great for you. That doesn't give you can't put any value in that because that's not who you are. So you have to be able to put value in your brand. Also, design. I know I heard Tasha talking about different ways how you can do some designing and go and have is a great site to use, trust me. It really is great, and it's really not your heart once you just find that little things you got to figure out. It's a little problem, but I got it. But you really want to be able to come up with a nice design, something that represents yourself. Because you like the way something looks, if that's not who you are, why are you using it? I get a lot of logos. I get people sending me stuff. I had one just now, someone sent me, and I said, you have a logo? No, who give us something? They got the kids to create one. Okay, kids are great, I love them. And they have great ideas, but now you got to be an adult, just take them and tweak it. Okay, that's why I just tweak a little bit. Sometimes kids have some great ideas. But, you can hear me?
Nope.
I'm sorry, but I was like, don't talk to kids. Okay, anyway, that was a quick one. But anyway, so I want you to be able to come up with a logo that focuses on you. What they did was they gave me a picture of something that did not have anything to do with what they were. So when I looked at the logo, I'm like, okay, and your point is. And believe me, people do that. I'm not the only person. People actually, okay, well, you don't want that. You want people like, wow. You want to be able to think about and know who you are at all times. So then we want to talk about trust. After all that important branding, people have to trust you. If they don't trust you, If you don't show no trust in what you're doing and your branding, and part of branding is showing that trust, showing that love. Again, when you have a church, people come in and you welcome them. That's your time right there. That's your brand right there. When you walk in that church and you say hello, and you say hello, walk away, or you don't give them that, bam, you're already down the hole right there. Now you got to be able to figure out how to get them out of that part, you know? So it starts when they walk in the door, when they see your face, when they sit down in your pew, whatever you do, it's all part of that. It's all part of that. All begins to create the trust that you want to connect with that person comes to your church. And then you want to talk identity. The brand identifies who you are. You are who you are. And so your brand will be, they say, oh yeah, that's so-and-so. Yeah, I remember that man. Again, Nike. When you see Nike, you know who it is, right? You see Apple, you know who it is. It quickly identifies who you are instantly. Now that doesn't happen overnight, but with all the other steps, it begins to happen. Before you know it, for my example, a lot of times people that announce, yeah, no, I know you, I know that. Oh, okay, good. I didn't know people knew who you were. I knew I was working on it, but eventually my identity became come out there to start knowing who I am and recognizing me because I stayed consistent. I kept everything the same. I didn't change. Eventually, it will happen. Like I said, part of networking. It's all part of networking. It gives it happen. And then we talk advertising. And that's all part of, in case you do your advertising, all your churches do different ways. Some do Facebook, some do Instagram, ads, but all advertising is all part of creating your brand. And then we talk about marketing. The whole part is now marketing. You got an idea, you want to market it. And marketing is a whole lot of steps that you need to do. So don't just stuck at one part of it. Do the complete marketing. It starts from the beginning to the end. Continue marketing your church. Always. Anything you do is always marketing your church. Now we got the logo. So that logo represents all of that. And that's what it's supposed to do. So your brand represents all that. That's your whole entire brand. You can do wrong with a brand. You can do something, you can brand yourself wrong. I'll give you a quick example. Someone shared with me that the church was, going out there, was going to go out there, we're going to do some stuff, we're going to go to the community. And they decided to pass out soap and a rag, and a rag, put in a bag. Like, you can you talking about stink, I'm dirty. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to do that. That just gave them a wrong vibe. Now, I am not coming to your church. Because who you think you are that when you clean, I'm not, even though they may need that soap. But who are you to say that? So you have to be careful of what you do. Everything that looks good doesn't automatically always taste good, right? So think about when you create something, what are the results I'm looking for, and what it's going to give me? Is this really going to do me right? Another example, a lot of churches do welcome packages. What do you put in welcome package? I'm telling you, Pierre, put in welcome package. Ink pen, mints, and a little leaf it. And you wrap it up in a dollar store bag. Ladies and gentlemen, I love dollar store, but God ain't about a dollar store. So stop going to the dollar store and creating your welcome package. I'm just telling you on the budget. There's ways you can do that and not do that, not take the dollar store. Because see, when I look at that, I know everything where you went. I know okay, the dollar store, everything tied up, and it didn't give me a good taste as far as okay, I really want to come back. No, it didn't say anything about your church. I knew it was a problem, but it didn't give me as a total visitor. I'm looking for a church neighborhood. It gave me nothing about who you are, nothing. So if it's a matter of you holding back that budget, do you plan to have something right? Then do it. If it's a matter of you giving that nice ink pen with your name on it, so now when they write, oh yeah, that was that church, they would not give you call them up. Something to identify who you are. There's nothing I can find to identify that church for. So it's very, very important to do that. Don't ask, a lot of people don't ask what our church, about our church. What I'm saying is that, ask what people say about your church. You may not want to know it, but you gotta know it. Because how are you gonna fix it if you don't know what's wrong, right? So find out, and trust me, there's something said about everyone in your church is here, so don't think it's not, because it is. And it's probably good. And it may be some things that are not, that you may need to correct, that you didn't realize, because when you're inside, mom said, you can't see the forest and the trees. So you can't, so you have to step out and see, what are we doing? What's tonight? Ask community, do a little survey around the community. Like, and do a survey and pass out something, ask some questions, and give them a nice pen for saying, to go to the survey. But find out what people are saying about your church and maybe your community. What they really say about your church, and find out what you need to fix up. Make sure you are satisfied with the needs of that community. The next thing is, a lot of times we don't connect our brand with our staff. A lot when I say staff, it could be like you have like secretary, church, even your board, that could be part of your staff. Making sure that they understand what the brand is. If they don't know what it is, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. They have to know what it is so that they can be able to, people look up to them. Your congregation looks that right direction. They'll come and ask the staff member, what about this? What's this? What's this? Well, I don't know. So now, you don't have a brand. Because if they don't know, congregation sure not going to know. The next thing, don't assume members understand. You know about the word assume? Do not assume they understand what your brand is. Because if the staff don't know it, the congregation don't know it, nobody knows it, so we all in the dark again. So you really have to make sure you understand it. And by doing that, it's a matter of always enforcing that in your bulletins. Talk about it when you make announcements, things that you do. We're a church about love and understanding. Whatever it is that you're trying to connect, always be constantly doing it. Have that feel that love that as your church, you love your church. Hey, I'm proud of my church. This is who we are. You should, when you walk out the door, you should always be branded. Always talk about things your church can do. So people understand and know who you are and know about you. When you wear that t-shirt, wear that logo on, it should represent who you are. And you should be able to understand and know. And your congregation now can go out into the community and do that. And also spread what your brand is about. And then also, everything in your church does not require its own brand. When I say that, I mean, we have a lot of parts of our church. We have women's ministry, we have children's ministry, we have outreach, we have prison ministry, and everybody went their own brand. I'm doing my own logo. I'm part of communication in my church, and one of our, I think it was our family lives. They were just they said, we want our own brand, we want our own logo. I said, why do you have a logo? Well, we want to identify as who you are. I said, okay. But getting your own logo, unless you're going to move because you have your own thing and not be part of church, it's fine. But if you're part of church, you can have your own logo. What you can do is, you have your logo, and you take that logo and you take it maybe step it down a little. For example, Germantown, go to Germantown Church. They have their own logo. They have a big G in the church. So what I did was I said, let's do this. The G will change colors for your department. So see, the logo is still the same, right? But it just changed that department. So health ministry, they use green. So when they go out and they have to do the health, they want to change their logo, change the color. It's still Germantown. It doesn't change anything. It's just green. It represents the health ministry. For children, we did red. So that's what we did, but nothing changed. So that's what you do. It's little things that you do. You don't want to just change everything completely. You just want to make yourself different and just a little bit different. Not totally different. Because now if you're totally different, then you're somebody else. If that's what you're going to do, that's okay. But if that's not what you're going to do, then don't do that. So, I'm going to back a little bit. So we talked about all that. We talked about all the brand. My part is what I do. I really work, I talk to people about doing promotional products. How do you take a promotional product and do all those things I talked about? Can it be done? It can. It can be done right, it can be done wrong. A lot of our churches, I find when I talk to them, they call me at the last minute. It's okay. They want to get something done, and they have, first of all, didn't put that in their budget because they forgot about it. Because again, he wasn't strategizing. So now they're like, oh, let's get some pens and pass them out. So okay, pens are great. My whole thing with promotional products is you give to get. Simple as that. We're not wasting money. Remember, we're on a low budget, right? But we're trying to get something done. So we give something to get something. So what do you want to get? Okay. So if you pass out a pen and he said, how are you doing? They keep going. You haven't even connected with that person. You haven't done all the things that about the brain stuff. Because that person just walked out the door. So why aren't you getting their name, their email, and talk about them? You know, she could be a new mother. You know, we have a great children's ministry. You know what? So now you brand, you connect that person. Now establish your brand. You know you are, and you got something back from that pen. Could be as simple as that. It's not always a pen, but you got to think about what it is. And it could be anything. It don't have to be a pen. It could be some measuring spoons. But it's how you want to get measuring spoons. How do you do that? Measuring God's love. You can do things like that. You take that slogan you had and you put in something that's totally, and that just makes you look like, wow, I got a measuring spoon. What? You think the person's not going to forget about you? They can't forget about you. You give a measuring spoon, talk about Jesus. You know, so this is the thing you have to do. You have to set yourself away from the crowd. So I say that as saying promotional marketing products are powerful only if they're used right. Only if they're used right. Only if you do the right things. Some of you have great talent to do that, some of you don't. But if you don't, you find somebody who does. Okay. And I just show you some of the stats of it. 80% of promotional products, seriously, you remember them. They remember their products. They remember what they got. Trust me, think about some of the things you have, you received. And I bet you something you can think about right now that you got that you remember. And sometimes you do that, you find that you can be called to advertise, but you didn't know what company it was that gave you that item. Also, 85% say that a lot of times that person now will come back and do something with you. Business, whatever it is, to connect with your church, because now they remember that product they've had. And most of all, you know, people love this stuff. They love it. So everybody loves it when you're right. You love getting something free. You know, it's just, you know, free, yes, I like it. You know, but that's nature, that's everybody. So it's okay. And this is what promotional products can really do. Using it right, putting your brand out there, people recognizing who you are, and remembering who you are. Now they'll come back to you. They won't forget about you. Maybe that person right now, what you talking about wasn't what they wanted, but they remember, you know, I was talking to so-and-so about something. Let me call them up. Where's that pen? Where's that item? Where's that magnet at? You want things that's going to last for a while. And somebody say, like you said, well, what about food? Food items are good items to do. You know, there's nothing to the stomach, right? You're like, I had that piece of candy. That was a great piece of candy. Oh my God, it's so great. Because you won't forget it. Now you might remember that person, and now you go back and where you got it from, and chances are, because it tastes so great, you remember where you got it from. So, as we talked about promotional products, we talked about the benefits of it. And again, I told you benefits, it influences behavior. It made people react or unact. But just want to do something to make them what you did and how you promoted that brand, that item to them. It is an effective way of branding, and it gives instant recognition. Instantly they'll recognize who you are. Some kind of way, whatever you get, will instantly do that for you. And it's low cost and effective. A lot of people think, oh, I can't, but it is. Trust me. Marketing with a promotional product gives you better results. It's cheaper. It's almost just it's now to the level of advertising on TV and radio. Percentage is very clear. Results are forget. But that's I mean, you try to advertise on the radio. Most of it, if you don't have $50,000 over it, don't even try it. But you can't do more advertising on the radio. You got to do that for a whole month constantly. So that's but why can't you take that idea what you're going to do and use that and get a promotional product that may cost you a couple $100 to do? Now you're out there, now you're branding, and you're getting the same results, providing, remember what I said, do it the right way. And most of all, it creates loyalty. You get somebody something they really like, you know they like, I like that person. It just they're more connected with you. They'll come back to you if that's what they want to do. And then most of all, it creates great exposure. That pen can travel with 100 people. You left it there, somebody picked it up, they gave somebody that kept on traveling until it stopped raining. So don't get a cheap pen. And then most of all, this is my last thing, since all gotten all this great stuff, we're on a road trip. So I'm inviting everybody, if you're interested in going on a road trip. It's something that my company, several companies do each year. And we're going to right here in Philadelphia, so those who are in the area, if you're interested in coming with us, is a road trip with all our vendors, about 3 or 4 vendors, so it's not too big, overwhelming, maybe a little bigger than about the size of the whole room. And you can just feel in touch with everything. So if you come with some projects and ideas and things you want to do, you want to kind of see and touch for yourself, get a great lunch, free parking, and you get a chance to talk to people I talk to. Okay? My whole thing is I'm all about doing things creative and unique and different. I don't do nothing normal, unfortunately. I just don't. And that's who I am. And that's my brand. That's my brand. There's many promotional marketing products people out there that do the exact same thing I do. When you're asleep, I'm thinking of what I can do to get different for you. How I can come out, how I can set you totally different, make something that's going to blow your mind. That's what I do. And to show that off, this is what I did. Everybody knows about Oshkosh, right? I'm on the executive team, and they needed something different. They needed something to do to get a fundraiser. They needed some money. We need money bad. But, you know, candy, concerts, it may come, it may not come. It's all good. But I want to do something totally different. Nobody else had, and it couldn't get nowhere else but through them. So I went to my design team. We talked about some things. We came up with this. Design, custom design hats. These hats are custom designed from the beginning. Just stole them down, we designed them, we came up with the idea, we loved it, and this is what they came up with. And they're doing this as a fundraiser. You're gonna get a bond these from nowhere else but out here for these, so you finish. This became a project, so they're doing it. So of course, you know, and you know, support the Pathfinders, they need this. It's something that everybody, a logo on a hat gives you more exposure than you can never imagine. They will always be wearing it, and everybody wears a hat. Even those who don't like a hat, on a bad hair day, but they got on their head. A hat, right? So it's something that it connects with everybody. And it's something that's unique and different. So to top that all off, like I said, I don't do nothing normal. I don't do no one thing. I had to make a jacket to go with it. So we decided jackets to go with it. So all this, my company is doing what we're doing. My company is doing this. We're giving $5 back to the youth ministry for every jacket. So this is what we're doing, and again, you're going to be able to find this anywhere else. If you're going to Oshkosh, you're going to find it. I guarantee it. This is again custom designed by my designers, strictly through us. So to say all that, I thank y'all so much for your time, your energy. I hope that you got a nugget. I hope you get one thing out of today. I said, so something I said there, I hope it's stuck in your brain and you can take it back. You don't have a lot to get through over the weekend, so I just really want to hope you got that one nugget. Great, great.
Any questions for Wanda?
I was there good.
oh, and I wanted to note that your little connection, your little pins, your AC Connection and Ministry pins. You guys have one? I hope everyone can see one. Yes, it's part of our branding, and we use Zag Promotional Branding Solutions. I have to look up Zag Branding Solutions for that. So that's also an inexpensive option for your church.
It's only $200 with that. So it's, you know, and that's something that you are always wear.
Any questions? And you can see the website is there, Zag Branding Solutions.
So if anybody has you working on projects, things you want to come up with, you want to talk about things, I'm here. Oh, I'm sorry to introduce my team. Please welcome a team member. That's my daughter. She is part of my marketing part. She does all of my designs. She's my creative person in the team. This is my son Ron. He's my VP. He is my, you know, we also do custom design t-shirts. We have a full apparel line. Just to quickly do, my church, I actually create a whole apparel line for my church. We do a whole apparel line. That's my apparel line. He does all my apparel. He does everything. He also designs. He works with our designs. He does everything. We do everything. A lot of our stuff is done in-house. Come with some ideas for apparel designs. I hope that everybody has a logo. Every church has some kind of logo or a t-shirt or something that, you know, when people go out, they see the look. Okay? So,
Thank you, Wanda. Let's give her a hand. Now, one of the things, go ahead. One of the things we want to partner with Wanda on is something I mentioned at one of our training sessions. I forgot which area. When we were talking about the rebranding and wanting churches who need new signs. How many of you have a church that needs a new outdoor sign? Oh, okay. We're hearing a response here. And so I get a question often in my office in terms of, do you all have a company that you recommend to do that? And so we're in the process of looking into some businesses or one place where every church in Allegheny East Conference can go, hopefully to get a bulk deal so that we can guarantee 10 churches are ready to purchase new signs. Maybe we can assist in getting discounts. And to make things even better, because we're trying to introduce the new branding, it would already be designed with the new Adventist branding, so it wouldn't require anything on your part except for to submit your church's name. And then if you needed additional information on there, because a lot of them are digital, a lot of the people are going digital, keeps you from having to update things. Every week. The new title, you just type it on your screen and it pops up. So that's something we're gonna.
But yeah, and I'm currently now in negotiation with several of my vendors to work on that. We're a very large one, we go anywhere in the world, so we're working on that now. And also, if anybody, like I do have some brochures back there, a couple of those idea books, give you some ideas of things. Just come back there and grab it.
Yes.
And come talk to us.
Yes, I was going to say, if you'll see that Q&A time, that's going to be designed for you all to be able to talk one-on-one with Wanda if you want to talk about some project that you're doing for church. And also, if you have questions for Charles right after about streaming. So that's your time to kind of have one-on-one Q&A with the presenters if you want to have that time with them. Okay. All right. Streaming, before Charles comes up here, how many of us, just to give a quick poll, how many of us are streaming currently, no matter what platform, streaming your church services? Okay. All right, let's see. Live stream, yes. Separate, okay. Oh, you okay. Now, how many of you are live streaming? Yes, okay, good. All right, how many of you feel you're doing very well? Okay, I see fewer hands. Okay. How many of you are seeking in the very near future to stream if you're not doing it right now? Okay. All right. And how many of you are desperately in need of assistance in enhancing what you're already doing? Okay. I was hoping the same hands. Okay, great. So then, this next and our final presentation of the day is going to deal with just that, streaming and some of the factors. I hope you all are prepared to hear that you may just not be ready for streaming. Are we ready to receive that? Okay? Sometimes our desires are not necessarily, should not become our realities until we're ready for it, okay? And so Charles is going to help us identify when we are ready for that. Can you do me a favor and bring me that box? We have to make sure Charles answers his question real quick.
That's for the big guy.
No, you're. Yes. Thank you very much.
Hey, Bryce. Yeah. Am I getting the same image on the confidence mark?
Yes.
I don't get that.
Right.
Okay. You know what you're doing?
Where's your mic, Steve?
Not the beginning.
Oh, okay. Any questions?
Okay. Okay. It's apropos. When people come to you for help, what do they usually want help with? Everything. Well, everything needed. Most things that I cover. They don't ask me, about anything else about technology. If they do, they'll be sorry they did. Because I don't handle anything else but tech. Right? All right. So, is everybody done? All these No? Really? All right. Stand up. Everybody stand up. Stand up for a minute. Stand up. Stand up. All right. So we want the blood to circulate. Stretch. Bryce, you want to cue up that first video? All right. So I was given a half an hour, or you can sit down. I was given a half an hour, so this is going to be kind of lightning presentation. So you got to pay attention. Write your notes, or not. Some people keep it up here. All right, I want to start off with a little humor. Is that all right? Don't we need a little humor? You know, Christians are some of the funniest people.
Amen.
Put this on projection for lighting. Now, just pretend that Bible characters had iPhones.
Well,
That's what these two guys are going to demonstrate. Literal.
All right, I'm about to call Postmates. Does everyone want the fish dinner then? I'll just call a bunch of them.
Jesus is on the way, so maybe just get a couple and take care of ours.
Okay, yeah, all right, just
Two then? Two.
all right, yeah, just two. We'll just do two fish. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe like 5 loaves of bread with it?
yeah, that's good. Yeah, perfect.
Bro, I just got a Venmo request from Judas. Dude, Jesus just got a blue check mark. How did he get verified? He only has 12 followers. Way more than that.
Dude, David is liking and commenting on every one of Bathsheba's spring break pics.
What's he doing? I thought he was supposed to be at war.
I don't know.
So what?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can't do that.
Dude, I'm on Facebook Marketplace right now. Look at this. Joseph's brothers are selling him.
Oh, Joe, he's just going on and on. He said he lost everything.
Probably gonna get a Kickstarter up soon.
Oh.
Bro, I was talking to Mary and Joseph last week. They were trying to price line a hotel in Bethlehem. Couldn't find anything. They ended up having like Airbnbs and like rustic bar, dude. Brutal.
And you know what? Instagram's one more time about his DIY project. That's done.
It's too much. Like he's like, I'm getting these instructions from heaven.
Oh, yeah.
Doubt it.
I ain't getting on that boat. Oh, look, another bachelorette in Sodom and Gomorrah.
yeah.
Seen it. Sin City would get it. I'll look behind you. You know what I'm saying? Because the.
No.
Okay, forget it.
Dude, are you friends with Carlos on Snapchat?
Have you seen his stories? He just like left his dad's house. He's in like another city, just losing it. It's insane. Like not safe for work.
Hey, dude, have you heard from Paul in a while?
Have he's in prison again?
Again?
Dude, you want to buy to this?
Do I look like Adam to you?
Okay. Bro, you follow the Rich Young Ruler?
Hey, is that SoundCloud rapper?
No, it's the guy. He's always posting about his house and his cars and stuff. He met Jesus last week. Literally haven't heard from him. Dude, Jesus came to town in a donkey.
I saw that. Could he not get an Uber?
I mean, maybe he was searching. Dude, are you in this group chat with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? I used this fire emoji. They got all offended.
Hey, Joe tweeted he was going deep sea fishing 3 days ago.
Maybe it was search.
Do you follow Saul?
Yeah, what?
He changed his username to Paul.
What? Bro, do you have locations on for the children of Israel? They're just like wandering around. Literally makes no sense.
Have you seen the weather for today?
No, what?
50% chance of quail.
Weird.
Abram and Isaac posted a selfie that ended the mountains for a little father-son trip.
Amazing. What could go wrong? Wait, what's that road for?
Oh my goodness, Lot's daughter's pregnant. She's gonna have a baby. I agree with that.
No.
Bro, you're following the woman at the well?
It's not like that.
Check your heart, dude.
Okay. Have you ever heard of John Christie? He's a really funny guy.
He's hilarious.
And I said I had to share that. We have a few more now. You know, before this conference is over, we got some real doozies. So I hope you have a sense of humor. Please don't go back to your church and say, yeah, they carrying on. They just showing funny videos, making fun of iPhones and Jesus. No, don't do that. Okay. So we're going to talk about streaming. And I won't be able, I hate to start a presentation like this, but I won't be able to share everything we need to know in terms of technology. We have 2 more days that we can do that with. So I want to get to the root of why we even bother streaming. Some of us should not be streaming at all. For no good reason. I know because I monitor quite a few schools that subscribe to some other churches. And some of them do not need to identify themselves as Seventh-day.
Well,
Because it's someone who knew nothing about Seventh-day Adventism, and they judge this worldwide movement by your video, they wouldn't be very impressed. Now, there are many of you that are doing an awesome job in streaming. So there's the other side as well. But we're going to start talking about the streaming. Give me that PowerPoint. I just want to give you a little side note concerning my crew. Bryce, give me that PowerPoint with the photos in it. And you talk about streaming. We start with the first slide. Okay. What you're seeing here are how many computers? 6 screens, 5 computers. And what you're seeing on each computer is a separate live stream. I'm doing this actually to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, to talk about how powerful streaming is, and my powerful crew in the back. Next slide. Each one of those screens represents a separate live stream from the General Conference office in Washington or in Columbia. How many of you have been there to the big church? Okay. North American Division Adult Ministries could not do their regular big convention that they have, every 2 to 3 years, where they have people fly in to the big convention center, and they have what is called Festival de Laity, workshops, seminars, and things like that to do ministry. Well, this particular year, they didn't have the budget for it, but they wanted to train the folk in the North American Division anyway. So they called on Allegheny Media, I'm proud to say. This is probably some shameless promotion for me, but if I have an awesome crew, I might as well talk about it, right? God has blessed us. What you're seeing here are 4 separate live streams at one time, twice a day, for 3 days, to the entire nation. It had never been done and has never been done since. My crew brought 4 TriCasters to the General Conference building, and we streamed 4 seminars simultaneously. By the time the 2-day event was over, we had 250,000 hits. They said, now I want you to give a hand to my crew. Next slide, bro. Next slide, so we can see, there they are. We took over the kitchen, because that's the only space they'd give us. We had a TriCaster in each room with a producer and an IT specialist. The entire system was wired by George O'Brien.
All right, George.
With their IT professionals, at first they said it couldn't be done. And all George said was, show me where your box is. He did the rest. He's amazing. So there's Bryce there, and we had about 8 other staff members in 4 different rooms. Evan was there. We even brought folk from Huntsville that used to work with me. And they came in as videographers and producers, and we did something that was never, ever done at the General Conference. Live streaming, 4 TriCasters, 4 separate seminars at the same time. You see the power of live streaming? That was not Hope TV. That was not 3ABN. That was internet streaming. Okay, so that's my promotion. I got a tight crew, I gotta let you know. These guys are awesome. As soon as we're done here, we're heading down to Columbia Union Conference to do their evangelism event. I'm proud of my guys, that's all. What can I say? They're awesome. Okay, so next video. Now this one pay attention to. You're gonna turn the lights out, but you can still see. This is all pertaining to YouTube. We're gonna concentrate on YouTube on this streaming segment here. But this video is so sophisticated. See, some of y'all know I'm lying. It's so sophisticated and so cerebral and so Scholarly, you gotta pay attention. This is YouTube and the issue of copyrights. Let it go.
Hey everybody! Okay, you're here on the YouTube copyright page. So, if you're watching this, probably you're having problems with your video getting taken down, or you think someone else uploaded your video.
Stop the video!
Mario, you can't stop. YouTube hired us to make this video.
The video is being stolen and re-uploaded! Right now!
Here we are on YouTube, where everybody's uploading videos. If you create original content, you're protected by copyright. If you upload content you took from someone else, they're protected by copyright.
Yeah? But copyright is not doing crap! YouTube hired us to make this video and it's just been stolen! I'm going to tell the big wigs at YouTube that we should...
As a disclaimer, there is one tiny expletive
You know
there,
there's
so
links
forgive
on
us
this
for
page
that.
that
We
can
didn't
help you,
produce
right?
it, YouTube.
You don't have to watch this.
Fred, we are doing a horrible job! Some jerkface has stolen our copyright video! Fire me, Fred!
Mario, don't panic. YouTube has a copyright takedown process to protect content owners. If your original work is uploaded by someone else without permission, you can send us a copyright infringement notice and we'll take care of it.
We're gonna take you down! This is a takedown notification.
This video is no longer available through a copyright claim by Golden Boots.
Curtis!
Okay, problem solved. And now for something amazing that has nothing to do with what we've been talking about. Hooray! What's your problem? I know it's your video. That's why we paid you for a license to use it. Don't take it out. Don't do that.
This video contains content from Gorilla, who has blocked it on copyright grounds.
What the hell is that?
Looks like a content ID claim just blocked our video.
What? Get out of the way! Fred, we showed Gorilla's video and this hacker blocked it. Fire me!
That's the content ID head. He's just doing his job.
He hates me!
He doesn't hate you, Mario. Content ID is triggered automatically when a YouTube video includes audio or video that's been claimed by another copyright owner.
Crap.
Well, in this case, I think you're fine. I think we gave you money to clear the rights to that video. If so, you can file a dispute.
Did we give Gorilla money for his video, Papa?
Yeah, I did. I swear.
Okay, we're good. What is dispute?
A dispute is a way to challenge the accuracy of a content ID match. You can learn more about it and start the process in your YouTube Video Manager.
I don't understand.
Well, there's two ways that a video can get blocked or taken down for copyright reasons on YouTube. One is a takedown notice, the other one is a content ID match.
Wait, aren't those the same thing?
No, they're not the same thing. If you want to know more, read this article before you go to your Video Manager.
This is boring.
Yeah, I know.
The video is the worst.
This video is doing great. People are re-uploading it everywhere. This video is doing great. This video re-uploading it everywhere. This video is doing great. People re-uploading everywhere. Next to review video. Why is video doing so great? Reason A, I'm the Superman. Reason B, scary monkey picture.
I think this video is crappy. Look at that crappy red guy. He's not even wearing any pants. Crappy? You cannot say that I'm crappy. I will take down notification his video.
Mario, that's his video. He'll just send you a counter notification. Copyright don't work like that.
This is not fair.
Nope, this is fair use. Copyright has a concept called fair use that allows people to comment on or remix or criticize your video.
Rule fair use. I'm sending him a takedown notification anyway.
No, wait!
Hey, man, I want to take down his video. He's making fun of me.
Mario, you can't go around censoring people who are commenting on or criticizing your video. Copyright law leaves room for commentary, criticism, parody, and other transformative uses. You can get in a lot of trouble for ignoring that. Wait a minute, what are you doing?
This is great stuff. I'm putting it in the video. This video is getting amazing!
But the video's over. All we gotta do is tell people there are links down there to help them.
But what about all that footage we shot before this video got all preachy and boring? That was amazing! Now let's show the scene where the T-Rex eats the lawyer on the toilet!
From Jurassic Park? We can't show that. You didn't learn anything.
Shut up! Kill Jurassic Park!
This video is no longer available due to copyright claim that people the T-Rex ate the lawyer while the lawyer's sitting on the toilet.
Fred, is this not the pod? Fred, are you napping? Fred.
I'm sorry to have made you laugh. But I thought that was cute. It's worth looking at the video again. They do have other links that will take you to YouTube to help you with disputes should your video be taken down at the live stream. They do have a process. You're not just subject to being taken down. You do have recourse, and it's there. So let's go to the second slide, and we're going to jump right into it. We're going to do some sort of lightning information about YouTube. I think statistics that you should know. I'm going to go and turn these lights out. Or is the light director is taking care of it. Okay. My remote stuff. The digital portal to the world. How many of you are actually streaming on YouTube? Are you streaming on another service? What service? Facebook. Okay, any other service? Yes, sir.
Facebook, Sunday Stream, LinkedIn, what's the other one? Twitter, and also one other.
Okay. All right, so for the most part, most of you here that are streaming YouTube, right? Okay. YouTube over the years have become extremely powerful. They're worldwide. They're the second largest search engine, second only to Google. And you can get just about any information you want off of YouTube. Let's go through this. 400 hours of video are uploaded to YouTube every minute. 400 hours. That wasn't my choice of colors there. I think the version took out the white letters. 400 hours of video are uploaded to YouTube every minute. Over 1 billion hours of video are watched on YouTube every day. Can you imagine that? Over 1 billion hours. I didn't know there were so many hours. Videos are watched on YouTube every day. YouTube has 1.9 billion monthly active login users. See what you're streaming on? This is a juggernaut. On mobile devices alone, YouTube reaches more adults ages 18 to 49 during prime time than any cable network does in an average week. And you know, back in the day when we did cable video and broadcast video, we had to, if we were doing cable, in some cases we didn't pay anything or we paid very little bill. You remember that?
Yes,
if you go on broadcast TV, different story,
yeah.
A lot of money. And nonprofits really didn't have that kind of money. And this was before YouTube. But think about this. On mobile devices alone, just mobile devices, we're not even talking about desktops. Mobile devices alone, YouTube reaches more adults aged 18 to 49. Now that's important to remember. 18 to 49, that's an important target group. 75% of adults report watching YouTube on their mobile devices. Why is that? Because our mobile devices have become supercomputers. That's why your iPhone costs you $1,100. Not because it's trendy, not because it's cute. Of course, it is trendy and cute for people who buy the reason. But it is a very powerful supercomputer. So are Android phones. I'm an Android guy. Amen. And we have some serious gear that we're carrying around in our briefcases in our pockets. So that's why there's such a high percentage, because your supercomputers go with you everywhere you go. Over 90% of 18 to 44-year-old American internet users watch videos on YouTube. Those of you that go to YouTube, you have a YouTube channel or you subscribe. You know they're providing movies on YouTube for you.
Amen.
Not only that, you get to pay for them. YouTube. Over 50% of YouTube's audience is female. Keep it in mind. Pay attention to these statistics, because this is going to be impactful on your plans for YouTube, your church. All of these statistics are important to programmers and content makers. 50% of YouTube's audience is female. All right, I could go on and on. There's at least 3 or 4 times more statistics for YouTube. You can go on the internet and you can find that information. I started out this way because for those of us that are streaming on YouTube, and the conference has a YouTube channel as well. We're going to keep the lights out because this one's over there. I'll tell you what the problem I have with us streaming. This whole conference is set for a purpose. Sometimes I believe our churches don't know what the purpose is. Streaming because you can. Streaming because you have the gear. Streaming just to stream. I've tuned into some streaming church services, and it was terrible. We won't even talk about the production quality, we're talking about content. Right? Some would starting their stream while the cameraman's setting up the camera and is jiggly wiggly and he's trying to get it on the tripod. Streaming! Somebody push the stream button, you know. Okay? Then we have the service from the end of Sabbath school through the processional, through the church clerk announcements, through the bullet. Those are the ones that just go next. Even a person that doesn't know anything about Seventh-day Adventist Church and they're looking for a church service, or they just stumbled upon it. You know, in a search, they may put a word that's in the name of your church, and your church comes up on the results of the search, and they'll go, oh, blankety blank Seventh-day Adventist Church. Well, let me see, because it'll say live. When you're streaming, there's a little red box down there that identifies you as live streaming now. So they click on to watch. Okay. Without any identification, we have churches streaming. Don't put up lower thirds. You know what a lower third is, right? That little tag that comes up at the bottom to identify. Don't identify the church. Don't identify the preacher. Don't identify the fact that the praise team is singing. It's just live streaming. No pre-production, no post-production. Now I'll give you an example. It's not because I'm partial, but I am partial. Exactly what I was going to say. Pine Forge Church, right across the street. Part of their team is back here. If you ever want to see a very nicely streamed service, one camera, Pine Forge Church does an outstanding job. Why? Because when the stream starts out, they fully identify themselves. They have lower thirds to identify who's preaching, and maybe even the title. And at the end of the service, they thank the viewer for streaming, seeing the live stream, and they give further information about the church. They show the website. They say we do these ministries during the week. Fully identifiable. Then the opposite is other churches that just stream. And what's interesting is that when I look at the views while it's streaming, 3, 10 viewing. And you know, I said to some of these churches, when I go around and do the workshops, I said, does that bother you? You have 6 viewers right now. 6. And it's probably those members that couldn't get to church.
Mercy.
So what's the purpose of streaming? Is it because we can? Some churches are a lot more technologically advanced than others, and so they do the stream and they can do the graphics, so forth and so on. It's fully understandable. But those of you that have the capability, I plead with you to do better purposeful streaming. So you have to ask yourself, what's the message? What are we saying when we stream? What does that actually say? You're streaming your service. So what? So what? It's a church service. What's your message? What's the follow-up? And here's the weakness. Some churches won't open up the chat room because they're afraid some troll will get on there, say something not so pleasant. We've had it done sometimes. But there are people who want to respond. So how many of you in the description area below your live stream, when it's done, how many of you put further information? Anybody? You know you can click a button, opens up the bottom part of your live stream video. You can put service hours. You can put your website URL. You can invite them to other live streams or programs going on at your church. And how many of you are actually taking advantage of the YouTube website that you can get as a subscriber and as a member of YouTube, having your own channel? You can actually put your church logo up there. So there's a whole lot more to the YouTube streaming portal than just the streaming action. If you're going to stream your church service, give the viewing audience all the information that's pertinent for your ministry. You might have a men's ministries or women's ministries, youth ministries, pathfinders. You can put links in the description of your YouTube videos to invite people to your church. So you have to ask yourself, what is the follow-up? How many of those that are streaming and those that aren't streaming, you should take these notes. When you start streaming, do you follow up? You sit down with your team and say, okay, last week we had 8 views. Does anybody have a problem with that? And why would a church have 8 views? You're streaming to the world. You saw the statistics. To the world. Why would a church have 8 viewers? Why? Why do you think? Anybody? Content. What else? They don't know you're there. Some of the members don't know you're there.
Well,
because some of it's not put into the book. So the follow-up is important. You know what I learned in broadcasting earlier in radio and television broadcasting ministries, that your follow-up is just as important as the actual product, the streaming. If you don't follow up and improve your streaming audience in terms of numbers, you're just streaming. Now some people say, oh, well, we do this for the sick and the shut in. That's fine. Is that your purpose? To just provide a look-see at the service for those that are sick and shut in? That's a good purpose. Is that your only purpose? Or do we want to be like TV Jakes? You know, his videos get thousands and thousands of views. Purpose. And then what's the result? Are people visiting your church as a result of the stream? Or they're avoiding your church as a result of the stream? Think about these things. Let's go to the next slide. So let's start with pray. You have to get your team together and you have to pray. This is serious business. We stream on the internet representing God and specifically representing a church denomination. You have to pray because the adversary will get all into your technology. He'll get into your teams and the attitudes, fighting with the pastor, anything to slow down this outreach, which is very powerful. So you got to pray. Get your team together and pray. Then you have to plan. Before you even open up your camera to the internet, you've got to plan. And I can tell the churches that have been planning. The churches that have been planning, as an example, Pine Forest Church. You sit down, they work out the graphics, they work with the pastor and the ministerial team, they ask the important questions. Pastor, ministerial team, what is the sermonic year or sermonic quarter? And if the pastor and the ministerial team can provide that, then the media and communication crew can go to work in advance, providing slides for a sermon, identifying the music guest, sharing more information concerning the sermon. That's planning. You shouldn't live stream unless you have a solid plan. And it should be documented with a run sheet and a producer and someone who is responsible for the stream. Now, if you want to Facebook quickie on your phone, or you want to do something, from your computer yourself, that's fine. But if you're going to do an official live stream of an official Seventh-day Adventist church, it should have planned elements. And keep in mind, the content has to be adjusted for live stream television.
Amen.
Here's an example. Someone comes up to the pulpit, maybe an elder, comes up and does a few things, says a few things, and then he or she steps down and walks away. Empty pulpit. Until the next person comes up. In radio, we call it dead air.
Yeah.
That wasn't allowed in radio.
Amen.
You don't do, folk get fired for having dead air. Because you can lose hundreds of listeners just like that. Or they're fiddling with their radio. Man, our radio, I don't hear anything. What's going on? I didn't want to replace this radio anyway. Dead air, no dead air. So that means you actually have to plan and rehearse your church service. Oh boy. A lot of folks say, well, no, this is the church service, this is the worship service, we let the Spirit guide us. We can't put the Spirit in a run sheet. How dare we try to? I've heard it all.
Well,
over 30 years of doing this, I've heard it all. And yet we forget that when we do anything for God, anything for God, it has to be done perfect.
Yes, sir. No, that's right.
Chairman,
I know that's right.
perfect. No longer make do. We cannot have a make do attitude when we are sharing the gospel.
Yes, sir.
If we do a make do, it's all right. We'll fix it next week. It should be perfect. Why? Because God is perfect.
That's right.
And all of our technical teams, our teams pray together. We want God to lead us. We don't have the big head. And we want God to help us to present the word perfectly. I saw a TED Talk recently. And the gentleman said, good enough is not good enough anymore.
right.
That was the title of his TED Talk. You can look it up. Why have we allowed ourselves in our churches, and this can go a long way with other aspects of our church, in our worship services.
Amen.
Why don't we strive to make it perfect? Good enough is not good enough anymore. This TED Talk speaker said, let me give you an analogy. How many of you fly on airplanes? Folk raising hand. Yeah. You buy your ticket. You go to the gate. They board you. You sit on this long tube of steel with two guys up front. And they're going to fly you 700 miles an hour at 33,000 feet, and you land perfect. What happens if the air traffic controller says, that's good enough? Their work has to be perfect. If it isn't, people die. And yet, we're given the opportunity to give back to God, and we say, that's good enough.
Well,
this is how our products are viewed as unprofessional, unnecessary, because we don't see it from a perfection perspective. So I said, when I've gone around and done workshops, whatever, I go through this same spiel. Some of those churches said, we're taking our stream down because we're not perfect. Now, you can be as perfect as you can be with the equipment you have. So, if you only have one camera, shoot it perfectly.
Yeah, amen.
Okay? Shouldn't have a wide shot with the pastor way down front. He was like a flea.
Well,
Preaching hard and folk can't see. That's not perfect. That's imperfect. So streaming is important, because we have a very visually oriented society. They know a good show when they see it.
Amen.
And I don't know how many people have said, yeah, I went to so-and-so church's website and I was there 5 minutes and I had to leave. Why? Because they're used to higher production. Okay? There are some churches that are doing an outstanding job on their live stream, and I can tell that they're planning. So my suggestion is, if you're not planning and you're not working with the ministerial team, the pastor, working together, then you're not doing a perfect job, and you should take your stream down. It's useless. 10 views. You're not advertising. You're not telling your friends and relatives. You're not even putting it on your website. I went to one church, they invited me to come and do a seminar. And they said, we stream every Sabbath. I said, great. I said, is it posted on your website? It's on YouTube. So when people visit your website, they have no clue that you have 173 sermons on YouTube. Streaming is important business. My colleague back there, Bill Morgan, we did years of professional video production. Days and days of planning. Shooting sessions after shooting sessions. We'd stop because something wasn't perfect. When I did radio broadcasting, I had the studio that was recording my show have me redo things. Why? Because they were professionals. They wanted it done perfect.
Yes.
If their name was associated with it. So why aren't we in the perfect mindset when we do things for the Lord? We've accepted mediocrity. It's okay.
Well,
yes, that's part of it. It's very complex as well. There are other aspects as why our streams are not as good. So those of you that are anticipating streaming, let's plan. Let's sit down and plan. And I can come out to help you with the planning process. It can be very tedious, but if you want to do TV, you got to do TV with the disciplines of TV. Otherwise, it ends up being just a little cell phone, Facebook, quickie, and that's it. Now, is there anything wrong with that? Oh, no, it's wrong. No, nothing wrong with that. But people know when it's a Facebook stream. Okay? And if money is the issue, don't do it or save for it. Ask for donors in your church. You'd be surprised how much money is sitting in your church. It's going to keep sitting in your church until you ask for it. I can tell you a story about that too. Somebody needed $10,000 to get their equipment to stream. And they said, there's no way, the church budget doesn't have it. They came across someone in the church and they said, how much do you have? Well, how much do you need? 10,000. Is that it? Yeah. See me next week. $10,000. Just like that. From a member who had the money but never gave it up because they weren't asked. Some people won't volunteer $10,000. If you come to them and say, you know, we're trying to stream, we're trying to buy a camera, whatever, we need $10,000. I was a Pathfinder director, same thing. Years ago in North Philly. I had 40 urban kids I couldn't afford. So I went to Danny Davis and said, my church's not giving up a dime. He says, you know who have money in your church. Go ask them. I said, really? It's just that simple. He said, yes, it is that simple. So I found one sister in the church, and I did my pitch. I'm trying to collect money with that from the director, you know, for the kids. And she listened very patiently. And she said, you know, she's like one of these everybody's grandma in the church. She said, baby, how much money you need? I said, well, I got to get uniforms for these kids. It's going to cost me $500. She said, okay. Next week, I'll have the check for you. The following week, she did one of these. I came over, she gave me a check. She said, now here's the deal. Don't you tell anybody where this check is. I don't want any plaques. Don't mention my name on community service. She went down the list. Amen. She said, take the money and take care of those kids. You don't know how many hundreds of members who are in position to help you with your media.
Amen.
But they're not going to help you because you haven't asked. Practice. Here's another weakness for those of us who really want to stream. We're not practicing our content. And that means, and I know it sounds like a lot of work, that means getting the ministerial staff, the musical groups together, sound checking them. I told one group, pick a Sunday. Prepare lunch, get everybody in the church. We're going to sound check. We're going to pick camera angles. We're going to tell you what to do and what not to do when it's live streamed. You'll know when it's live streaming, so don't pick your nose.
Well, glory.
And you practice. And you practice. And you practice. When I took music years ago, my music teacher said, perfect practice makes perfect. Not? So we have to practice. I know the First Day Church, a buddy of mine was asked to be the production manager of it. One of these mega churches, these huge 3,000, 4,000 seat auditoriums. When they finished their Sunday service, pastor shaking everybody's hands, and the folk are leaving, God bless you, all of that, the entire team comes back in the church and practices the next worship by script. The next Sunday worship is fully practiced, so that when they come next week, everybody knows what they're doing.
Amen.
Everything clicks perfect because they have a mindset of perfect. So we have to practice, then produce. Now, I was only given 30 minutes, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But if you're serious about streaming, there is plenty of consultation that we can provide for you.
Yes.
Technical in, producing in, directing in. If we're going to stream, let's do it professionally. Now, we talked about YouTube a lot, but YouTube is an amazing source for education. You want to know how to stream well? Go to YouTube, go to search, type in, how do I do live streaming? You want to know what kind of equipment to use for live streaming? Search, what's the best camera for live streaming? You want to know how to time, how to organize your content, you put that in YouTube, and there's going to be a video there that's going to walk you through how to do it. So, if I can't come to the church and help you, the internet can. My son and I just went on, not just, a few years ago, our washer broke down. The house. Washers aren't cheap.
Amen.
Well, there are cheap ones, but but a real good washer is not cheap. So we have one of two choices. We call the service guy, which isn't cheap. Buy a new washer, certainly which isn't cheap. Or fix it ourselves. My son said, oh, we can fix this, Dad. I'm like, really? I don't know anything about washers. So he simply went on YouTube, put in the model number. It came up. There's a guy down south, talked like this. He said, you got one of these washers? I'll show you how to fix your problem. We're sitting there listening. He said, all you need is a pair of pliers and a screwdriver. We got the pair of pliers and the screwdriver. Went out and bought the part. It was $5. And we had the iPad sitting up there, and the guy said, okay, you take this out first. We took that out, and this will drop down, and you get the washer. And we just went through that thing, and we put it all back together. My son said, all right, you're gonna try it. Yeah, let's try it. So we pushed the button, and YouTube, we fixed our washer. Huh? Yes, absolutely. Fix your car, whatever. So, during this time, if you have any specific questions about streaming, technical, we got enough folk here that will help you with technical issues, cameras, sources where to buy cameras. There are the expensive ends, like maybe TriCasters and other streaming hardware. There are less expensive ones. And you might even want to talk to Julian or to George, because they're the ones in charge of the live stream from the Pine Forest Church, and they can tell you how they do it on a small budget. But my advice is, if you're streaming, do it right or don't do it. Because it's not about you. You're representing Jesus on the internet. And you have to make sure your content is solid, your technology is solid. Who wants to watch a grainy video and the audio is terrible? 5 minutes, they're gone. So if we're going to do it, we need to do it right. Any detailed questions about streaming that you have? Be happy to help you. Look at that video about the copyright, how to take down, how to answer. Don't be fully subjugated by YouTube. YouTube may take down your video because you did a copyright violation, but that could have been an error. And there are times when they realize it was done in error and they put it back up. Some companies who depend on live streaming on YouTube have been suspended for 90 days. So they're getting very serious about this. Okay? I know my time is up. So I hope, if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. And we do have that advantage of having this expertise at our disposal for the next few days. So if you do have questions, you'll be able to ask the whole team back there some of your specific streaming questions. As we prepare for dinner, Wanda is still here and her team is Zach Promotional. So if you have questions, they're there to answer questions there before they leave for the evening. So make sure you see them as well with any questions that you have. Okay, have we learned anything today? Yes. All right. Did we learn too much, or we still have more we want to learn tomorrow? Okay, great. And just to make sure you recognize tomorrow, I realized today, for some reason, the whole 11th hour of tomorrow is somehow left off the back of this schedule. It's correct in your book. But tomorrow we're going to be talking about, you know, how many of you are familiar with Haystack TV? I've seen some of their videos. I think they have a new one they just produced, talking about Adventists who, non-compliance and, what was it called? Zeal, I think. Anyway, he's one of the producers for Haystack TV. He's going to talk to us about creating videos for social media and how to impact or grow our social media following. And then we have Ricardo Bacchus, who we met this morning. He's from the Visitor magazine. He's going to be talking to us about how we can write stories that people actually want to read. A lot of you contact me wanting to share some of the things happening in your church, but you don't really know what people will want to hear about. He's going to help us with that. And we also are going to learn how, we talked a lot about how our cell phones are very powerful devices. We're going to learn how we can produce some awesome things just with our cell phones with Sheldon tomorrow, and also how to prepare killer presentations, help your pastor prepare killer presentations so that your visuals look great. Okay, so that's our lineup for tomorrow, and we want to make sure you're on time. Breakfast starts at 8 and ends at 8:30 tomorrow, so you don't have an hour for breakfast, so come on time. And make sure you get here before 8:30 because that's when the raffle starts. So if you don't get here before 8:30, you don't get a ticket tomorrow, okay? We're all aware of that? All right, so we're going to go ahead and grace